I think we've had a pretty good show. I mean, Blake has interrupted me like 37 times this morning. There were a couple of times I totally lost my train of thought. But other than that, I think we're doing pretty well. Text messages are rolling. You just wanted to do that again.
I'm doing my best Jackson Meadows impersonation.
It's incredible. You've been on a roll. You did it all last week, too. Go ahead.
No, I'm just fired up, Bo. I'm fired up. The NFL draft got me back into sports.
And then the NFL schedule release?
Yeah, I'm riding a last dance NFL, high right now that I'm enjoying since we don't have any sport. College baseball being gone has hurt me, so I had to find joy in my life somewhere. I had mud bugs this past weekend too, by the way.
Good for you.
Ordered 15 pounds, had a pound left over and a little bit of shrimp left over. Shelled it, cut it up, made an incredible Cajun pasta Saturday.
And you didn't bring any up to the studio.
Smashed it Saturday and Sunday. There were zero leftovers.
Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Chuck Mullins is an attorney with CoxwellLaw.com. Also NFL Insider. We want to talk Monday Night Football in the booth, and then the NFL schedule was released on Thursday night, which is exciting as we think we're going to have football this fall, and Chuck joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. Chuck, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm sorry you had to talk to Blake.
That's all right. I thought I tuned into the Food Network with all his recipes.
Good grief.
I was like, do I have the right station?
I know. What do you do? Well, you know what else? Listen to this. It's Eat What You Want Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't really know what to do with that.
I mean, I usually do eat what I want.
Well, that's what I thought. Blake did make a great point. He said, well, hell, America's been doing that the last 8 weeks in the pandemic.
You should see my freezer. I got more meat and chicken. And, I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse or something. I don't know.
I mean, I have torn through more protein. I mean, I don't know what in the world is going on. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to throw you a curveball first, okay?
I set well on the curve. Monday
Night Football, before we get into my Cowboys and the Saints and then some of the other teams as far as scheduling. So ESPN has made it official on what we all thought. And they officially told us that Joe Tessitore, who I think, by the way, is very talented, Tessitore and Booger are done in the booth. But we still don't know what they're going to do. I don't understand why you can't go like Tessitore and Louis Riddick. But, maybe there's still something out there that they could do. Anything, jump in the front of your mind as far as what direction you would go if you were ESPN for Monday Night Football?
I'd definitely put Beth Mowins in the booth. I think she – I know every SEC fan just cringed. No, here's my dark horse, okay? Steve Levy. And then you throw in somebody like Louis Riddick.
Okay.
And that's actually somebody – those two I would listen to on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
I mean, Steve Levy just brings – I was looking at – when you mentioned this on air, so I pulled up the past Monday Night Football announcers. And you're talking about – the cream of the crop, the guys we grew up listening to, you got Cosell and Gifford and Al Michaels, and then, and nothing against Booker and those guys. It's different generation, but, it just didn't bring, that, this is a good game because so-and-so's announcing. I think we need somebody like Steve Levy. And here's another dark horse candidate. If ESPN wants to do this now, but if you get Chris Fowler and Herb Street to do it on Monday night.
That'd be nuts.
That would be nice because they do Saturday football, the best game. They can have a day break, fly in, and do the NFL game. But it has to be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be that, and I think that's what they're trying to. I think they try to get Peyton Manning. Maybe they, try to offer him more money than they did. He turned them down. But it's got to be something because Monday Night Football, it's just something that we grew up watching, and we need that type of announcer duo. Yeah, we do. I mean, and I don't think we had it the last couple of years.
No
offense to those guys.
I do like Steve Levy. I think he's very talented, both as studio and baseball.
Yep.
and Levy would be able to handle it and do it well. And then I think Louis Riddick would be great. I know he's not near as big a name as Peyton or Romo or whatnot, but the dude's a pro and really, really good in studio and draft and so on. I just wonder what else, Chuck, I'm trying to think, like what else is or who else is out there that's a big – I mean, would Randy Moss –
I love listening to Randy Moss.
I think he does a really good job in studio.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's quite ready for that, but I don't know, I mean –
Well, I'm going to be a homer, and I'm going to throw out a name.
Okay.
Somebody that's on the rise is Joe Thomas, former left tackle, future Hall of Famer, Cleveland Browns. If you see him on NFL Thursday night and he comes on the weekend, I think they're grooming him for a job.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremely humorous, good personality, knows the game, which is, I think, the a very top of the list type thing. But if you look at ESPN's list of announcers, I mean, who the one that stands out, NFL guy, and I don't want him on Monday Night Football, is Chris Berman.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't do the nicknames anymore.
No.
I mean, it was a shtick that got old. What was it? Early '90s. I was done with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But anyway, if you look at their roster, I mean, we've thrown out the top names, I think. So unless they bring somebody in, I don't know where they're going.
Okay, so Louis Riddick, Randy Moss, maybe a wild card.
Steve Young, don't forget Steve Young does.
Oh, that's right. You know what? Steve Young does a good job too.
He's really good, and he played a little bit of football,
Yeah.
so he knows the game. But just somebody that we know. I mean, Booger was great in his role as the third guy going up and down the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
You remember?
Oh yeah.
But to sit there and talk color and be an analyst on Monday Night Football, it takes
You got to have the chops, man.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I couldn't do it. I know that. But Steve Young, those guys, they got some talent. Just somebody's got to get in the studio and do it. I mean, he could be like a Romo. I don't know why they never had him calling games before.
No, that's true. Steve Young, Randy Moss, Louis Riddick. Interesting. All right. Chuck Mullins, NFL Insider, CoxwellLaw.com, joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We'll segue to some NFL scheduling. And look, Chuck, I want to start with the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. I think this is a pretty tough schedule with the NFC West and the AFC North. And Jerry's was hell-bent on opening up the L.A. Stadium, so he got that, and they go with the Rams at L.A. to start it. Then 2 weeks later, they go to Seattle. What was your takeaway on the Cowboys' schedule?
Well, as you look through, every NFL fan thinks their team got the worst schedule.
Yeah.
And when you look at any team, you're like, every game is tough. But if you look at, taking the Cowboys, I mean, Rams, Falcons, Seahawks, Browns, first 4 games, and I'm not saying the Browns because I'm a Browns guy. Those are 4 tough games. You're on the road, LA, I guess on the road in air quotes, because they're going to probably be out there anyhow. But then to go and turn around and go to Seattle, I mean, Dallas needs to come out of that 2-2. I mean, if they come out of that 2-2, they're golden, because the next 4 games, Giants, Cardinals, Redskins, and they could be sitting pretty. That assumes that Dak is there and not Andy Dalton, and we don't know that. But one game I'm looking forward to, when they play the Steelers, November 8th. I grew up watching the Cowboys and Steelers.
Oh yeah.
I hated both. I mean, that was the team. You remember the NFL game that we all used to get? The little vibrating NFL players.
Oh yeah.
The only team you had an option were the Cowboys and Steelers. That's what you had
That's
back
a great
then.
point.
Yeah, so that's going to be a marquee game. But when you look, if you go down, they got the 49ers, December 20th. They got the Ravens. Of course, they play the NFC North. Vikings. I mean, that's a very difficult schedule, and it's all contingent on them having Dak Blake, what are you thinking? I mean, you
No,
look
hold
at the
on.
schedule,
Now,
what are you thinking?
you mentioned Dalton. So I'm biased, okay? You're not. You just like the NFL and you'll watch the Cowboys. You're not thinking that Dalton can take Dak's job, are you? Or are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
just wondering if, what Dak's plan is as far as is
Right.
he going to sign? Is he going to hold out? You've got a NFL vet. Andy Dalton could take this team.
Sure.
I could probably lead them to like 6 wins myself with the talent they have on offense. But Dalton, with this type of talent in Dallas, I mean, that's a very good move by the Cowboys. I mean, and I don't know, assuming Dak goes in and he signs and everything's up and running and we're not playing without masks. We got some fans at the game. Cowboys are going to be hard pressed to get 10 wins out of the schedule. I mean, I would be totally impressed if they got 10 wins,
Okay.
even with their team. The talent that they have is just that difficult of a schedule.
Do you believe that they gave Andy Dalton a little bit more money because he is so familiar with the AFC North?
Oh, no, I didn't think about that. That's a great point. And now that you mention it, it would be, you've seen NFL players get signed the week before, they get cut from Team A and Team B has to play them in a couple of weeks and they get signed by that team. So that's a shrewd move. And I knew that Andy Dalton wanted to go back to Texas. I knew that's his home. He wanted to go back. But, if that's the case, that they brought him in because they're playing AFC North, well, it's very smart.
Chuck Mullins, CoxwellLaw.com on the Miller Lite guest line. We're talking NFL schedule. Saints Buccaneers first weekend, Chuck. How about that, Brady and Brees?
Wow. I mean, who would have thunk it a few months ago that we would be looking at this game and thinking that they have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that we're going to be watching on Sunday afternoon. And I'm going to be, here's the thing. We've seen with very few positive results, an aging Hall of Fame quarterback leaves his team
Right.
and goes to another franchise. And what happens? I mean, Joe Namath left the Jets, go to the Rams. The biggest thing he did back then was going to Brady Bunch, I think, if anybody remembers the Brady Bunch. Great episode, by the way. I'm just interested to see what Brady can pull out of the Buccaneers. But it's going to be a great matchup. Thursday night, we got, the Chiefs. They open up. And of course, they're NFL champs, so they're the first team. But we got Mahomes and Deshaun Watson on Thursday night and roll it and cap it off with Brees and Brady. I mean, if you look, I heard you guys talking about college football versus NFL football. And here's what I like about NFL football. There's never an off week.
Right.
You don't play, and no offense to any team, you're not playing some podunk university. Mississippi State's not playing some, Division II school. You see great matchups every Sunday. And there's never, sometimes on Saturday afternoons, there's nothing on. The college football schedule sometimes is really weak.
That is a great point. The NFL brings it every weekend.
Every weekend.
Yeah.
And that's why when you look at these schedules, every NFL fan thinks they got screwed.
Well, you're right. That was my first takeaway on the Cowboys. I was like, what? And then you're right. I guess every fan is going through that. Like, for example, Chuck, we just mentioned the Buccaneers and the Saints playing, but guess what? Mahomes goes. So the Saints pull the AFC West this year. And so how many Saints fans we have in this area. Many of them are season ticket holders. They get to go see Mahomes live in the Dome. How cool is that?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think and process the offensive explosion that's going to happen that night. The over and under is going to probably be what 75.
Yeah.
That's. But when you think about those type of matchups, it's not really the teams. Sometimes it's the players, and with Mahomes and Brees, Brady and Brees, and Deshaun Watson versus pick a player, and that's what's fun about going through the NFL. And the Saints probably making a run. I know Blake hates to hear this, to the Super Bowl this year. I'd be shocked if the Saints are not at the Super Bowl this year.
Okay, so you're expecting. They've been so close the last couple years, and they've had some balance on both offense and defense. and the brutal games against the Vikings and the Rams,
Wow.
and you think they've got a little bit more juice to maybe at least get to the NFC Championship game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I throw the schedule out. I just think that they are, one of those teams that has been on the cusp, a play away.
Ooh.
The last 2 years.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who do you think Sean Payton's the best coach in the NFC?
Wow. That's a good one. I couldn't tell you a better coach in the NFC.
I couldn't either. Even Pete. Pete's great, but
yeah,
but
I think of Pete Carroll, and he's a great coach. Sustained success at a franchise that didn't have success before he came there.
Mm-hmm.
He built it. He created it. But I sit there and think that, you guys were talking about this. Pete's a real defensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, defensive minded. So he, I think he turns over the offensive schemes to other coaches. And I just look at when I look at the Saints and that offense, they since 2005, 15 years into this run that they've had, this pretty impressive for the city of New Orleans.
Sure.
And the Saints, and I couldn't find a better coach in the NFC. Heck, I mean, other than Belichick.
Right.
In
the AFC, you go Belichick and Reed, and I guess maybe Harbaugh. You may disagree here. That's more of your wheelhouse.
I love Harbaugh, man.
I think he's special.
Gee whiz. The Ravens, other than firing, and the Baltimore Ravens fired Bill Belichick. Okay, not the Cleveland Browns. It was the Ravens. But other than that, and the coach they hired instead of him, they've had 2 coaches since, they fired their first coach. Not Belichick, but I can't remember who they hired. It's tip of my tongue. But when they hired Harbaugh, I didn't know who the guy was. Special teams guy, and then, all he does is, win a Super Bowl and get them into playoffs every year.
Yeah, NFC, I think it's Sean. Then AFC's loaded because you got Belichick, who's an outlier. But if you take him out, I think you start with Andy Reid and Harbaugh before going to Tomlin and some other ones that are good. I'd go Sean Payton, number 1 in the NFC. Wow, that's incredible.
Quick Sean Payton story. So when he had his season where he was suspended, he coached his son's youth football league team. Do you remember the story?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was facing a team that was running a double wing wedge formation, and they couldn't stop him. So Payton, being Sean Payton, who does he go to? He calls Bill Parcells and they're swapping videos and tape. And this is like 9-year-old football, 10-year-old football.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And he's trying to break it down. And there's a whole segment that both of them are giving the story of how they were trying to stop this double wing wedge. And if anybody's ever coached, and I've done it, I've watched so much video in my office of youth football. It's embarrassing to tell you how much video I've watched. But get back, AFC, Mike Tomlin showed me last year what kind of coach he was when he took that team that, for all intents and purposes, should have just hung it up, gone 3-13. And then somehow he has them in the playoff hunt with, Mason Rudolph and some dude they had that they just got off the street a couple weeks before. And he kept that he kept that team together. So I'm not a big Andy Reid guy, never have been, but Harbaugh, Belichick, let's just kind of, he's, echelon.
Sure.
But if Harbaugh, Tomlin, top, in my opinion, those are the top.
You're not an Andy Reid guy.
No, I've never been a big Andy Reid guy.
Interesting.
Yeah,
especially because he's never been hotter now that he finally broke through and won it.
Well, and it goes, I just think that, he gets a lot of credit for the players that he doesn't choose. And it's like, oh, he's an Andy Reid guy. This guy's an Andy Reid guy. but he's had great front office, both at Philadelphia and in KC.
Okay.
And, the Kansas City front office has given him, well, just look at the weapons he has.
Right.
I mean, and honestly, if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, they're down 10 late in the fourth quarter, and he just rallies them. I mean, so I'm not a big Andy Reid guy. Never have been. Just personal preference.
No, I love it. I love it. That'll get somebody fired up. Chuck
I'm
Mullins,
sure.
NFL Insider, CoxwellLaw.com on the Miller Lite guest line. We only have 2 minutes left. This is not good. We'll have to do this again maybe later in the week. Hey, real quick, your thoughts. How cool is it going to be? I was going to go total wins over under, but we'll need like 20 minutes on that. Las Vegas. How cool is it going to be that Vegas has a team, Chuck?
It's like one of these movies, Any Given Sunday, when you see those teams that were in that Al Pacino movie. It's going to be a carnival atmosphere. I mean, we've all been to the New Orleans Saints, except for Blake. I understand. It's so strange. It's the weirdest thing ever. Anyway, but, going to New Orleans on game day and being downtown, I thought was the coolest thing. I've been down there several times watching the Browns, but to be in Las Vegas on game day, we may have to go out there.
Yes.
To experience that.
Yes.
I mean, I cannot imagine, because that place is crazy anyhow. And then you throw in football. I don't know. They may have a stripper pole on the 50-yard line. That's the rumor. I don't know.
Or in the club suites. Or in the suites. Yeah, the Vegas, and I'll be interested to see how they cultivate, like how their fan base kind of looks and what happens in the first, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So,
yeah, I think that's always a problem when you plant a team in a city.
This transient?
It really is. I mean, it's like, oh boy, we got these traditions, but you don't. It's kind of awkward, but I think they'll get over it real quick.
Yeah, and that flight. I mean, whether it's L.A. or Oakland or the Bay Area, is right there. So they'll be able to pull, and then there'll just be people like us that just want to go take it in, and also, stay at the Venetian or Mandalay or whatever it is for the weekend and have a good time. So, all right, we'll do. How many do I have here? I got Dallas 9.5, Saints 10.5, Bucks 9.5.
Wow, Bucks 9.5.
49ers 10.5, Eagles 9.5, Seahawks 9, Browns 8.5. All right, we'll do this next time. Maybe a little bit later in the week. We'll do total wins over under. Cool.
I will be here social distancing at Coxwell & Associates.
Chuck Mullins on the Out of Bounds Show, CoxwellLaw.com. Thanks, Chuck. See you, buddy.
All right. Y'all be good. Bye.
Chuck Mullins on the Miller Lite guest line. We hit some Saints and Bucks. Blake Scott is even excited about that, and he hates the New Orleans Saints. Brady Breeze, first weekend in New Orleans. That'll be a circus. And then Las Vegas, week 2. The Saints go to Las Vegas in week 2 for Monday Night Football. What would we start if we did a show from Vegas? Would we start at 5 in the morning? Oh, yikes.